Hello everyone! How's everyone doing today? Oh, that's great. We love to hear that. Welcome to episode 14 of Coby's Brain. We got a great show for you today. A lot of really exciting content, so let's get started. Alright, we are going to start with Coby's entertainment blog. Thank you for that applause, audience. Alright, so the first subject in Coby's entertainment blog this week is Megamind, which was a 2010 movie directed by Tom McGrath, who did Madagascar, a bunch of funny DreamWorks movies like that. It has a pretty stacked cast, Megamind. Will Ferrell is Megamind, and Tina Fey, Jonah Hill, Brad Pitt are also in it. Really stacked cast. Basically, the movie is about an alien supervillain who finally destroys his lifelong foe, and as a result of that, kind of loses his existential purpose and ends up having to create a new hero to fight to like give him his life meaning again. And in doing so, you know, that hero, who's Jonah Hill, ends up becoming a villain, and so he has to fight the villain, and so long story short, he ends up becoming a superhero and ends up with Tina Fey's character. It was pretty good, you know. There were parts of it that were funny. I really liked the existential comedy trope that I've been seeing kind of a lot lately. The first time I'd actually encountered it was in a Joji music video. If you've seen Sanctuary, shout out Joji. Where it's kind of like this idea of once you defeat your it's a comedic premise, but like basically you defeat your foe and now you got nothing to do, so you're sad. Is it sufficiently like a struggle that, you know, would result in someone being really upset? Is it like super relatable? I'm not totally sure. But I think so. You know, lack of existential purpose is certainly unpleasant. So we gave, here at Coby's Brain, Megamind a 7.7 out of 10. So it's a good movie. Not a total must-see, but definitely a pretty entertaining little film. Next up, we have RBG. A 2018 documentary about RBG. It was directed by Betsy West and Julie Cohen. And yeah, it tells the kind of like life story of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and how she ended up becoming the, you know, super influential Supreme Court justice and pop culture icon that she ended up becoming. And yeah, it was a really good documentary, super well done. Learned a ton about RBG from watching it. How, you know, she was second female in Supreme Court after Sandra Day O'Connor. Like how much of an impact she really had on like advancing women's rights in the United States. Super inspiring, and you know, she also wrote so many iconic dissents, and kind of her dissenting opinion over certain Supreme Court rulings are a big part of what made her the pop culture icon she became. The Notorious RBG, shout out the Notorious RBG, and yeah, you know, she also worked really hard to stay healthy for as long as she could. This is her, you know, working out in order to, you know, stay on the Supreme Court, advancing the causes she like so held so dear. So shout out RBG. We gave your documentary an 8.2 out of 10. We loved it. Definitely check out this documentary if you want to learn more about RBG, and or you just like appreciate her. she's a big-time American hero. So definitely check out this documentary when you get the chance. All right, speaking of RBG, the next movie on Coby's entertainment blog for this week is On the Basis of Sex, which is a 2018 just film about RBG also. So a lot of RBG content this week. Rest in peace RBG, but you definitely good to be watching some movies about her. There's some good ones out there, including this one. It's starring Felicity Jones, and it's a biographical drama of RBG, focusing on her years in law school, when there were barely any women attending law school, and kind of how after graduating, pretty much top of her class, she started at Harvard, ended up at Columbia Law School, but she was still unable to find a job because none of the law firms were hiring. So she became a professor, and her law career kind of really started taking off after she took the case that this movie is really focused on, which is Morris v. Commissioner, where basically a man was arguing that there is gender discrimination because only women can get, because the man, basically Moritz, was staying at home to take care of his sick mother, and that was assumed to be something that only women would do, so he wasn't getting like the tax benefits, and so it was discrimination on the basis of sex, and RBG used this as a precedent to ensure that to make the case that discrimination on the basis of sex is unconstitutional, and this really was a really instrumental precedent. So this was a super important case for that reason. It was also a really important case in that it really helped establish RBG's career as an actual lawyer, and eventually resulted in her being appointed to the Supreme Court by Bill Clinton. And the film ends with real life RBG walking up the Supreme Court stairs. The ending was a little, I don't know, it was fine, but we gave On the Basis of Sex a 7.8, which is still a great rating. It's a good movie, definitely recommend it. It's not as good as, if you really want to learn about RBG, I'd watch the 2018 documentary that was made about her that we reviewed last. That one, that's pretty sweet. That really gives you a good look at RBG. That's, I think, probably even better than On the Basis of Sex. But if you have time and appreciation for RBG, such as we do here at Coby's Brain, check them both out. Why not? She deserves it. Shout out to the notorious RBG. Rest in peace, and pay homage to her by checking out these movies. All right, next up, we have the Facebook Watch series, Real Bros of Simi Valley Season 3, starring Jimmy Tatro, Cody Ko, and Nick Coletti, and the DJ Getter. Basically, I've liked the show for a while. I've always found it pretty entertaining. I think it's a really good satire of, obviously, Simi Valley specifically, which I actually don't really know that much about, but I think Southern California culture in general. And it also really, I think, effectively parodies reality television. Basically, Xander, the main character, proposes, the beginning of the season, he proposes to his girlfriend, Molly. And that's kind of the arc of the season, is the proposal all the way to the eventual wedding, and it's really funny. It's a pretty hilarious season of the show. I certainly laughed a lot. There were some bits that were pretty dumb, not gonna lie, but for the most part, the show had me LOLing. Yeah, I think it's really good satire with A lot of really entertaining cameos like Pete Davidson, Victoria Justice, Dom Mazzetti. Hilarious show. If it's definitely not, I wouldn't recommend it for everyone. It's definitely like, it feels very like boy humor, but if you're into that, you'll probably like it. Here is Coby's Brain. We gave this season an 8 out of 10. Shout out Jimmy Tatro for putting this season of this show together. Keep crushing it. It's good to see like this free web series that is really well done and really entertaining. Okay, next up we have the South Park Pandemic Special, which was recently released just like a couple weeks ago. So it's a really, we love South Park here on Coby's Brain. Shout out South Park. Great show. So really interesting comic reflection, satire on the year 2020 and how freaking crazy this year has been. Cartman is loving his online classes because he doesn't have to go to school. Turns out Randy Marsh caused COVID by having sex with a pangolin. And police are out. That part was kind of stupid, honestly. But police are out of work, so they become teachers and begin oppressively holding the students in the school. Pretty funny, jokes about the police. And it turns out the president wants to keep COVID going because it kills Mexicans. Which is, maybe that's Trump's evil plan. I don't know. Anyways, it's a pretty crazy episode. One of the more crazy. Some parts were just really ridiculous though. Like Randy's fluids causing people to grow mustache. I don't know, man. This show's crazy. This particular special was no exception to the rule. But I think usually South Park gets higher ratings than this on Coby's Brain. We gave this one a 7.7 out of 10, which is still a great episode. So if you haven't seen it, you can watch it. But it's not the best South Park episode ever. I kind of expected a little bit more out of it. They got a lot of pretty crazy stuff to work with in this year. So, but I'm sure they're gonna keep doing some pretty crazy things. We shall see. Keep up the good work, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. We'd love to get you on Coby's Brain one day. Be epic. Next up, we have Apple TV's show from 2019, The Morning Show, created by Jay Carson. Really well done show, I must say. Incredible cast, Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, Steve Carell, Billy Crudup. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Great show, just super well done. Basically, it's about a prominent news anchor, kind of like a Matt Lauer situation, who is accused of sexual assault. Really, an interesting look at the cutthroat nature of news industry and the problem of powerful men, taking advantage of their power. Really dramatic throughout, engaging performances. Big success for Apple TV Plus. So we'll see what else they managed to do. But great, I thought it was really interesting social commentary done in the morning show, and the performances of Witherspoon and Aniston were phenomenal. So here at Coby's Brain, we gave the morning show an 8.3 out of 10. That's a great review. Definitely recommend this show. I'm pretty sure you can get Apple TV Plus for free for a year if you buy any Apple product. So, maybe check that out. Oh, or just get the free trial. Morning show's great. Coby's Brain approved. Next up, we have the Netflix animated adult cartoon F is for Family, created by Bill Burr and Michael Price, starring Bill Burr, We watched season 1, 6 episodes. Pretty quick little watch. Interesting depiction about 70s America, reflection of American values at the time. Pretty interesting historically, but honestly, not that funny. I don't really think that I don't know. I feel like it didn't really benefit from being animated. It could have been not animated and probably would have been just as good. And it really lacked the absurd element. So that's the thing. That's less something. I really like the absurdity of things. And since this wasn't super absurd, I was kind of I wasn't. I didn't like it as much as say Family Guy. It was basically a less absurd 70s version of Family Guy. So if that sounds good to you, check it out. Here at Coby's Brain, we gave season 1 of F is for Family a 7.2 out of 10. Yeah. Still a big fan of Bill Burr though. I think he's hilarious. Probably don't know if I'll watch the other seasons of this show though. Season 1 was from 2015. There have been more seasons since then. I think they're going to release their 5th and final season soon. I don't know if I'll get to it. Maybe I will. But season 1 was aight. It was aight. We are now transitioning to Coby's music blog, where we will be talking about the new 21 Savage Metro Boomin album, Savage Mode 2. Totally one of the most hype albums of 2020, and that's saying something. There have been some hype albums come out in 2020. This is overshadowing. We were gonna do a little Tekka album review. I don't think that this is the album that has been on running through my auditory cortex. This album, total fire, total flames. Morgan Freeman is in it, kind of narrating it, which is epic. And there's bangers, including Runnin', Glock in My Lap, Rich, N-Word Shit, featuring Young Thug, and Said and Done. Really possibly one of the best albums of the year, in an amazing year of albums. Definitely check this album out if you're a 21 Savage fan or just a Metro Boomin fan. I happen to be a huge fan of both of those artists. They come together again like they did on Savage Mode 1 and just knocked it out of the park. Really knocked it out of the park. We at Coby's Brain gave Savage Mode 2 an 8.8 out of 10. That's a great review. Might be one of the better reviews of 2020. You deserve it, 21 Savage. You've had a crazy year, but you knocked this one out of the park, dude. We would love to get you on the show one day. Who would like to see Coby's 21 Savage and Metro Boomin on Coby's Brain? Yeah, same here. Anyways, keep up the good work and congrats on a great album, gentlemen. All right, we are now transitioning to Coby's Thought Blog. Welcome to Coby's Thought Blog. First thing we're going to be talking about is Huel. So, for those of you who don't know, Huel is a lot like Soylent. It's like a meal replacement powder, and Coby recently started it, and it's been a total, complete and utter game changer. Game changer in every single sense of the word. Basically, it's a perfectly balanced meal. I've been dreaming about this for a long time. It's been a while that I've wanted something like this in my life. Perfectly balanced meal, super healthy, super inexpensive, like $2 per meal, and it takes no time to make at all. It's just like a shake. They also have actual food versions of it. So shout out Huel. Can't say enough good things about Huel. It's also made me a lot more disciplined when it comes to eating. They recently published an article I found to be really interesting about mouth hunger versus stomach hunger. Stomach hunger, you're low on energy, you need food. So you eat food, you get that energy, you're good to go. But mouth hunger is what, a lot of us also do, which is where we just eat even when we don't actually need the food. We just want something to eat to make our taste buds feel good. I make Coby do it all the time. With Huel, it just makes you more mindful and more intentional about what you're eating, and mouth hunger is less of a problem. But we'll see. I'm pretty new to Huel. We'll see how it goes. But at this point, huge game changer for the life of Coby. Giving Coby a lot more time, making him feel a lot better. We love Huel. So Huel, 10 out of 10, even though we don't rank thoughts on a scale of 1 to 10. But Huel, great. If you are interested in Huel, let me know, and I can get you $15 off. No joke. All right. Next up, we got cognitive behavioral therapy. So this is something that I recently started thinking about because it relates to me, because I am a brain. Thank you. Coby likes psychology stuff, so we're going to talk about it a little bit. So, for those of you who don't know what cognitive behavioral therapy is, it is essentially it's a way for people to challenge the numerous cognitive distortions that the human brain is very susceptible to, that I oftentimes fall victim to. Using logic to discard false beliefs and destructive emotions. So it's really useful, and I find that brains are just so susceptible to these cognitive distortions, and so the more mindful and knowledgeable you are about these potential cognitive distortions that are coming around to screw you over, the less likely they are to impact you negatively and cause depression or anxiety or the many other problems that they can cause. So here we are now going to talk about some of these cognitive distortions. I'm just going to list them. We'll probably go into more detail about them in future episodes. So 1, all or nothing thinking. Example, you're either a total success or a total failure. There's no in between. That's not the reality. There's a lot of in between. So don't fall victim to that bullshit. Next, overgeneralizing. Making hasty generalizations from insufficient evidence. Don't do that. That causes so many problems. But again, it's what our brain biologically is going to do. Because human brains, we're great. Don't get me wrong, we're great. We do a lot of things, but we aren't perfect. We overgeneralize at times. Another thing we do is we filtering. So focusing exclusively on the negative and ignoring the positive. Don't do that either. No one wins when you do that. That's somewhat similar to disqualifying the positive, which is another cognitive distortion, where you rationalize away a compliment, for example. Jumping to conclusions, which is where you reach negative conclusions with little evidence. That's somewhat like overgeneralization. This is an interesting one. Magnification and minimization. So perceiving the bad as greater and the good as smaller. It's a bummer that we do these things, but we do. But now you know. So if you try to catch yourself doing these things, and maybe they won't happen, and maybe they won't screw you over. You know what I mean? Next up, we got emotional reasoning, assuming our feelings reflect reality. Could not be further from the truth. They do no such thing. Making must or should statements. All that does is cause guilt in you. There's no must. You can not do something, and you're not a bad person for doing that. Personalization and blaming. So personalization, saying everything is my fault, versus blaming, which is saying everything is someone else's fault. Not reality. Always being right, being wrong is unthinkable. Come on, if you're like that, you gotta figure something out, because that's just not that. You're crazy. You're crazy if you think you're always right. I'm literally a brain. I'm pretty smart, but I'm wrong literally every day. Guaranteed I'm gonna be wrong about something. Fallacy of change, assuming one's happiness depends on the actions of others. That's not the case. You are responsible for your own happiness, and this is a frequent problem in abusive relationships. Fallacy of fairness, belief that life should be fair. Life is not fair. Get used to it. That's just not reality. And finally, labeling and mislabeling, attributing a person's action to their character instead of that just being an action, just something that they do. It's kind of like overgeneralizing. Anyways, that was a lot of info that I just threw at all of you, but let it be known. Be aware of these things. If you find yourself falling victim to these, you might want to consider, and it's seriously having a negative impact on your life, you might want to consider cognitive behavioral therapy, where someone who really knows about these things really well, even better than Coby's brain knows about them, can identify them in your thinking and help you overcome them. Very effective psychotherapy, or very effective form of therapy, and great things to say about cognitive behavioral therapy, and very pretty sound science. So hope to continue to explore this topic in coming episodes. Thank you. So we've got one last segment on Coby's brain, which is the importance of voting. Right? You're hearing it all over the place, but you might as well hear it again from a brain such as myself. It's one's civic duty, right? Is that enough of a reason? There's a lot of civic duties that we probably don't always follow, but I guess if that motivates, if you're motivated by the fact that it's your civic duty, you probably already submitted your ballot, But more importantly is the fact that this is a super important election coming up in 2020, which is why basically Coby's brain is officially, we don't usually do this, but we are officially endorsing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's an important election because if Trump wins, we're going to get greater polarization and violence in our country. Progress will not happen in terms of climate change. The damage could be irreparable. Irreparable. We don't want that. Many people will probably suffer at the hands of policies that do not look out for them, and certain demographics in our country are going to get further marginalized. It's just not good stuff. It's like we're in a pretty crazy place. So I hope you all do vote, and ideally for them, but it's important. So that's Coby's political message, Coby's brain's political message. It's a really important election. Trump is really not being super chill lately. I just haven't been I have not been super stoked about a lot of the things that Trump has been doing. So that's why we're endorsing Biden and Harris. And we hope you vote. We hope that our country improves, because some bad things are happening, like white supremacists not being condemned by the president in the debate. Not cool, man. We don't like that. Anyways, that is our show. Thank you so much for watching. We love our viewers here at Coby's Brain. Don't forget to give it up for Ron Roach. His film is now out on YouTube. Be sure to check it out. Don't forget to give it up for Coby and the Alien Gang. We will see you next time. Go out and vote. Coby's Brain loves you. See you next time.